In the paddock with driver Jordan Stratton as we get ready for round one of the inaugural Drivers' Cup. 5 of Yonkers' finest, well actually 4 in Jason Bartlett, against 5 of France's finest. And I know, sir, before we talk about your drives in that race and one other for Sunday, it has to be very special for you personally to get invited to a competition like this.
Yeah, it's an honor and a chance of a lifetime. I'm glad I was able to capitalize on it.
Okay, they are races 2 and 4 Sunday. Let's talk about those races and one that bookends. That is bookended by those two. Lily Swan Pond in race number 2 is a horse I've looked at since he's hit town. 4 or 5 starts, always seems to get a check. Always minds his manners, but always seems to kind of need more finishing. Am I missing something there? Is he good enough? Now he bumps up a bit to non-winners of 12 from non-winners of 8. You've driven him. Talk to me about him.
He kind of flies under the radar. He's not great, but like you said, he usually gets a check. He got locked in last week. He was really good last week. You know, maybe he can work out a trip and be a little more aggressive with him.
Before I ask you about the other two, let me ask you a question I asked Mr. Buter earlier. Usually for the Sundays, you know the horses and you know the drivers. Well, this Sunday, you know the horses and you know half the drivers. When you have a situation like this, or at least as you look at a situation like this, when 5 of the drivers are very talented, but they're wild cards as far as what happens here, does that kind of affect your strategy at all?
It's going to be interesting. You know, you got to be a little more heads up than normal. You kind of, drive with new guys, new styles. Maybe they'll be a little more aggressive. Maybe they'll be more conservative. I don't know, but I just got to drive my horse the way he needs to be driven and go from there.
Okay. Race number 3 is the race in between our 2 Drivers' Cup races. Soul Train is a horse that was very good last week, a 10-hole second, but the victor belongs to spoils. You go from non-winners of 12 all the way up to non-winners of 25.
Yeah, the up in class and the draw doesn't help. I think Not Afraid has the rail, so that'll be tough. You know, I've driven this horse before. He's raced good for me before, but he's going to need a really good trip.
Yeah, that's another thing that you're bumping up, and you have 2 horses that drew inside of you who are refugees for the Open. So this is a very tough non-winners of 25.
Yeah, it's not a very good spot. We're going to need a lot of luck.
Okay. Race number 4, the last of the 2 Drivers' Cup races. The good news for you is you get a very formful trotter off the claim in Cousin Eddie. The bad news, if there is bad news about this, is a horse who loves to leave the gate, but he's going to have to wait a bit because he drew post 9.
It's not such a terrible thing. Maybe he can be the last one to the front. His form's, best of his career so far, and hopefully I can capitalize on it.
Okay. When you get one for the first time, whether he's as formful as Cousin Eddie or one that may be a bit off form, tricks of the trade, what do you want to see from him scoring down a bit? Anything that maybe you can learn from him in that very short period of time?
From looking at the program, looks like he does everything right. Maybe score him down through the first turn just to see how he'll handle it. But other than that, just try to give him a good trip.
Cousin Eddie from post 9 and the 4th. That is the second of our 2 Drivers' Cup races. This being round 1. They'll be over in Vincennes in a couple of days in June. Mr. Stratton, thank you much. Best of luck Sunday.
Thanks, Frank.
We're coming back.